video spawns from a conversation I had with a friend about being a D&D tuber, and I guess I'm kind of one of those. It was a pretty good conversation and also kind of reminded me of a panel I went to. I thought I would just share my advice as someone who's been on YouTube for 4 years and can maybe offer a more realistic, less clickbaity approach to like this side of the D&D YouTuber sphere. So this video is really for people who might be interested in, you know, starting their own hobbyist YouTube channel, or, you know, just to give you a behind the scenes look at someone who really just does this for fun and doesn't care about the numbers. I'm KYLIE and I like to talk about my experiences with like all the TTRPG stuff that I struggle with. And in this case, of course, it is my experiences as a D&D tuber. I had this video planned since October, but of course now there's like all these videos coming out about D&D Tube ending or changing, and I don't feel like an expert in that topic by any means. In fact, this video will probably show you guys how much I really don't do any of these tips despite knowing them. But maybe it can give you kind of a realistic expectation if it's something that you're trying to dive into, or just a look at my general approach to most D&D things. So I'll even dive into my analytics. That's why we're at this weird angle today, because I'm gonna switch over to like screen capture view as well, so you can see exactly how much I made this last year. It's not a lot. In October, I went to PGX. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, it's a gaming convention in Monroeville, and it's super fun. And I'm usually there as a vendor, so, you know, come say hi. Bob Worldbuilder is also often there, and he had a panel about D&D YouTubing, and he had a bunch of people up there, and I'm real sorry I didn't know anybody other than Baron Derop and another guy I recognize, I don't remember his name. It was a panel of about 7 different YouTube creators, having been on YouTube for 10 years, and then one who had like just recently went viral. That was interesting. It wasn't interesting. Actually, I was extremely bored. And it's not to say that the information that they were giving was bad, but frankly, it was all the same stuff you can find on the internet right now and look up. And so I'm not going to dive into that, because if you're going into YouTube, you should do your research. But also, I don't always follow that kind of stuff. I'm sure if I did, my channel would do better and you'll be able to see that. But it's a lot of work for something that I don't do full time. So I'm not going to hash those tips exactly, but I will just talk about in my brain, or at least based on what they were saying in this panel, there are pretty much 2 main ways to approach YouTube. I, of course, am neither of these, and we'll get to that, but you can approach it as something that's just fun to do, a hobby, or just something you try with no expectation of like building a career out of it or making money. Or you can go all in, consider it a main job, quit your day job, and really devote like everything to this craft. Obviously, one of these is a little more strict than the other. And there are plenty of people who just did it casually and it turned into something more, and then they went full time, and that's great. I don't think in 2026 you can do that. I think you have to have the clear expectation that you're not going to make money unless you have a really, really good plan and hit the algorithm exactly right and have editing experience and all of this other stuff. Like, unless you're already the full package, I think it's going to be very hard for you to just come out of the gate running. A lot of people have always said you need to have a niche. Obviously, the niche for us would be D&D, and you need to stick to it for the YouTube algorithm to like you. I disagree. One of the big things people say is also you need to be super consistent with uploads and stuff, and that I do think is somewhat true. But unlike Dungeon Craft 2, in his like video, he mentions how the algorithm works and he kind of explains it to the audience. I'm not gonna say he's wrong. I just don't actually believe anyone knows how the algorithm works. He's definitely getting his information from YouTube itself, because YouTube on the dashboard constantly gives us these like tips on the side, and it's constantly talking about how the algorithm works and all that. And maybe it's just my marketing background speaking, but to me that's all PR. Just to make creators feel like they have that inside scoop, because there are so many people on YouTube who also go against all the things that they talk about, and they still do super well. I don't actually think it's possible for anyone, Dungeon Craft or anybody, to actually fully know the algorithm. And I also think that this is because the algorithm is built to understand people. And people are constantly changing. You, the audience, you're constantly changing. You're constantly wanting different stuff. Your experiences, the world around you shape what content you want to view. And because it's extremely complex, the algorithm has to be extremely complex to change that, to fit that. I think that's also why we see announcement of some channels like going away, some channels changing. It's because they're also realizing this, that the audience is changing and they have to keep up. I also think the integration of AI, which could be its own probably topic, affecting the algorithm in some form. We're getting AI content shoved down our throats constantly, so it would be crazy if it didn't change things. But like I said, I'm neither of those. I don't just do this for a hobby. I'm not trying to make money off of it. I kind of have an entirely different approach, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. I use YouTube to focus on my community. Obviously, as I mentioned, I don't do this full time. So you have to take everything I say with a grain of salt if that's what your goal is, right? Would I love to be a full-time content creator? Sure, yes and no. Like, on the one hand, that'd be pretty sick. But on the other hand, it's like, I wouldn't want to put all my eggs in the YouTube basket either, because things just change. And if you like what you're watching, consider supporting me on Patreon, the best way to support creators on YouTube. You can get behind the scenes, plus you can get ad-free versions of my videos. Also, live streams, there's shop discounts, hopefully some paper products coming out, definitely a magazine in the works. There's lots of stuff there. Link in the description. I wanted to share some of like the numbers the last year in just 2025. So here's my numbers from 2025. As you can see, I made a whopping $734. Now, granted, it's not the end of the year yet, and all that money just goes straight back into my Cantrips media, like TTRPG stationery business, mostly to, make products or advertising dollars or things like that. My lifetime on YouTube, I've made $1,700. Now, obviously, you can kind of see, like, I had a little bump here. I don't know what that was. I did try to change up how I was doing things, and I did see an increase. But really, it wasn't until like here that I started making money. I was making money in 2022. It took me about a year to get monetized, and that was fine. But right around here is when I started to actually make money, and it slowly took off over there. I think it could, yeah. So if I change it to the money, here you go. You can see there's different like peaks, and a lot of these, so like this year, all of this is like me trying shorts, which do better, but I hate doing shorts. So there's that. And then some of this is when I've hit, like I just hit trends, either accidentally or on purpose. But yeah, a whopping 1,700 for 4 years on YouTube. Granted, if we take that down to when I really started trying harder, it would be only about 2 years. If you're wondering about sponsors, because I know when YouTubers usually talk about how much they make, they also talk about having income from sponsors. I didn't get any income from sponsors. I have just found that sponsors don't really want to pay for your work unless you have a certain number of subscribers and viewership. And so while yes, to the algorithm, subscribers are slowly not a really big thing, like it's a thing of the past, to sponsors, it's a big deal. And you'll notice that I haven't really done many review videos or anything in the last half of 2025. That's because I stopped doing them for free, with the caveat that if it's like a product I really like or I've already thinking about supporting, I will do it. Or if it's something for a friend or someone I've had a good relationship with, I'll do it. Some of those people who ask for free reviews and give you free stuff also want you to follow these strict timelines. They're constantly like hounding you about it, yet they don't want to pay for content. For the record, I'm not asking a lot. Typical 10-minute video from start to finish takes me about 8 hours to complete. So we're talking about, you know, scripting to filming to editing, which for edits, I hardly do anything. I just do a lot of weird Zoom cuts, to uploading, creating thumbnails, which I'm really bad at, and then of course sharing it and all of that. When it's a product review, add on an hour of testing the actual product, flipping through it, making sure like I have content to say, then doing research to make sure I have, you know, the price, where it's supposed to be purchased from, etc. Honestly, that's probably more than an hour of work. It's probably closer to 2. But if we lowball it and we say a review video takes me 9 hours and my lowest package is $50, if you divide that by 9, you're talking about $5.50 an hour. Now, granted, again, I don't have big subscriber numbers, big viewership numbers. I have pretty good retention. I'm not on any huge company's radar because I don't have those vanity numbers. At least I don't know if that's what you call them in the YouTube world. In social media marketing world, we used to call those kinds of numbers vanity numbers because they don't matter. It's just a number that companies use to like make decisions. But in the scheme of things, having a lot of subscribers after that initial 2,000 subscribers for monetization really doesn't change much. And of course, we have like small indie creators who really can't afford to do even $50 of marketing, which of course sucks. And I do tend to make exceptions for products and stuff that I really think are cool, or for people who I think are very interesting or things like that. Because I also am a small business, so I totally understand not having the wherewithal or the cash to put into marketing. But even those medium-sized companies that like to hound you about your timeline, they don't want to actually pay me for anything. Ever since I kind of put that paywall up, I've gotten a lot less. So for sponsors in 2025, I think I've only made about $150 to $200 total. And then of course we have to talk about Patreon. That's the other thing I have, and a lot of YouTubers have, which I think if you're going into YouTube, you should add this on as well. I didn't start doing this until halfway through, I think 2024. Pop over, I'll show you the numbers. They don't look great all time. So yeah, it does look like I started in July or June. Nope, August. I started my Patreon, and slowly it has been growing in the last year and a half, which is great. I started out and it was like around the $50 mark, you can see here. And then slowly it's increased. Part of that was due to the magazine, and then I've switched some things around. Now, especially in October, you'll see a huge bump, and that's because I run a West Marches campaign on my server. And in order to help pay for Foundry hosting costs, I'm also building an app for my West Marches thing. I say me, but actually it's my husband. You know, I have moderation bots and all these things and content I have to buy to keep that up to date. So I added a couple tiers focused on my West Marches, and that's when I saw the bump go up. A year and a half, about $1,000 on there. I think just for this year, that was most of it, was about $900. So not bad. So we're talking about a couple $1,000s for my whole YouTube experience. I want to just go back to the analytics from this year, just to talk more about what I'm seeing. So everybody else is saying like things are going downhill. Obviously, I have remained very steady. And that could be multiple reasons. Again, I don't fully understand the algorithm, and so your guess is as good as mine. But you can see all of these peaks in the last year. So up here is these are where I was doing a lot of shorts, right? So there's that. And then I think one of these is a draw steel thing. Somewhere. Oh no, one of those it's a Foundry video. But I could go through and like really look at these things. This is the peak from the video I did last week. it's really funny because I literally post it, and obviously my patrons get content first. Same with YouTube members, and I posted it, and then someone was like, that was a really good video, and I literally was like, I don't think it's gonna do well on YouTube because it's pretty long. And lo and behold, I get to eat my words. But I don't follow trends. I kind of just post whatever the heck I want. A lot of times it's things that I'm researching right now. A lot of times it's just tips for things. This one on the paid games did well because Ginny D and a bunch of other people posted about pro GMing and all of that. So I think I just hit it at the right time. I don't know if this video would do well. Probably not, because I'm not a big YouTuber. So it's not like people are that interested in how things work on my end. And I don't know that I'm contributing to the conversation in any meaningful way. But I've just been pretty steady. And yeah, it's not the most beautiful graph, and it's not like the most amount of views someone can have, but it's fine. My evergreen content, which I know some people, I think it was the Dungeon Craft video that said, you know, there's no such thing as evergreen content. And he's right, the advice videos are not evergreen content, because once a GM learns that stuff, they move on and they try to do other things, try to make their game more interesting, whatever, and they learn the basics of GMing. They don't need those beginner advice videos anymore. So he's not wrong. But you know what people always need help with is running games on Foundry. So all of my top content you'll see is almost all like Foundry related. Or this one's about stuff I learned about running West Marches, and I think that is kind of getting a bump because technically Critical Role's doing a West Marches, you know, so it's kind of trending now. But you can see all of this is like my top ones are all those, and then this recent GM one. Yeah, I could totally lean into doing just the Foundry stuff, right? And I have thought about that because obviously the Foundry stuff would make me really niche and it would probably always do well. I don't want to do that. I think there is a subset of my audience that would love it if I just focused on Foundry related things. But I will tell you right now, I would hate it and I would burn out instantly. I would run out of ideas and I would just get tired of it. I use Foundry all the time. Literally gonna have to prep a game Friday for the West Marches, we use Foundry. So I use it all the time. It's not like I don't like the software. I'll be honest, I don't try to make my stuff utterly unique. I don't try to focus on one topic because I, as a creator, am just like you, the audience. I'm ever changing. I was sad to hear that, you know, Bonus Action actually had to, a few months back, he announced that he was taking all of his Daggerheart content and putting it on a separate channel. And I kind of felt bad because it seemed like he was really into the Daggerheart stuff and comparing it with like D&D and all this stuff. And it is another tabletop game, but his audience like was leaving or just didn't like that. And it just seems like a headache to manage 2 channels, but it also seemed like he was really into it. And I think removing the crafting videos from like the Dungeon Craft channel is fine because it doesn't seem like he's as into it anymore. And it sounds like it's more of a headache than it's worth to actually post, and he's not getting any enjoyment out of that. I do think he didn't need to announce it. He could have just let it go. And that last video was a little bit clickbaity, but instead, what I do, which I think is different from every other YouTuber out there probably, is I focus on community, and yeah, I focus on community. I have a subset of my community that literally watches every Drakkenheim update, like recap that I do. Those videos are recap videos. It's not actual plays per se, more like a GM diary. They don't do well. Even I think Dungeon Craft talks about how his don't do well or whatever. So the videos are pretty much garbage view-wise, but I love doing them. And I have a subset of the community who also loves them. So I keep doing them. We post Draw Steel actual plays. Are they better than other actual plays? Hell no, because we don't have the production value. We don't have a full-fledged team for this, but we have fun with it. And it also is helping a friend support a system that he loves. He's definitely in love with Draw Steel, so if I can help him out, why not? And there is a subset of the community that's interested in that. Yes, I still post Foundry videos because I find things out that I'm like, how the heck do you do this? I actually have 2 more videos planned about modules that I've now integrated into my system. I have a lot of questions and I do the research, so why not share that with you guys? And then if you find it useful, great. I'm also planning a dungeon draft how-to video because a lot of people have been asking about that, and I use that program religiously. So I do map making streams with my friend Birdie Maps because he's my friend, but also because I love dungeon draft and map making, and I learned so much from him as a professional map maker. I think the live streams at most have had like 22 people in them. It's usually like the same 10 to 15 people, but usually they are asking a lot of questions. They're super active in the chat. For most streams, at least, I feel like the last one we were touching on a topic that was a little bit different. So there was like a subset of that subset. So I focus on those people. The people, I just make content that I love and that the audience apparently likes because people keep coming back. I don't post consistently, which I will say is important. I do think me posting consistently, I did that in 2024. All of 2024, I had a video every week, video or live stream every week, and my numbers grew exponentially, and I highly recommend that. But I struggled to keep up, and I don't make enough money off of YouTube to justify that. And even my Cantrips Media like stationery business is struggling. I talked about that earlier this year, which also is indicative of the change in the TTRPG community. My business started struggling as soon as the OGL debacle happened, and that made D&D content kind of uncool. And then everyone and their brother came out of the woodwork to make their own tabletop system, which is great. I'm one of those people who loves trying new systems and testing them out, but that has the market pulled in multiple different directions. So that's why we're seeing a lull when it comes to D&D content, as well as for creators who make crafts or whatever, small business. If you sell merchandise that's D&D tailored, you're also probably, I've talked to a few people, we're also seeing a lull, and that is partially why. And so over the last few years, I've slowly seen that slow decline. It'll settle eventually. Still sucks for me since I've been doing that for 7 years now, and now I have to go part-time, and I don't know how to do an office job anymore. Are you kidding me? All of that is just me saying, if you are planning to make a YouTube channel for a hobby in 2026, just do what you love. Follow trends only if it floats your fancy. Focus on your community, because that community is what literally helps lift me up, helps give me content ideas, helps, promote, even though I don't ever ask them to. And make sure you're not focusing on just one persona in that group. Focus on all the different members of your community, because we're not all the same. D&D tubing is not dead, just changing, which I think Bob Worldbuilder talks about in his video, and we just need to adjust to the audience around it. Hope you found this interesting and not too rambly. I also noticed I really need to change this sign. I think this sign has been up for like 6 months. You guys tired of wisdom saves yet? We'll see you guys in the next one.